everybody, and welcome to another Florida-friendly landscaping educational program. And today is a very special program. It's a pop-up surprise program. And don't worry if you're not here live, because obviously, you're watching the recording that this is being recorded. It's a class that I kind of named Botany of the Wild Ones, because I attended a seminar of sorts over the weekend in Citrus County led by my friend here, Alice Mary Herden. And I asked her, hey, can you appear on Florida friendly format and present this class again? Because I think it would be very useful to our watchers and our listeners. So Alice is, let me see if I get everything right here. She is a world-renowned photographer of natural systems. She has worked for local newspapers as well, doing sports photography. And she's really good at that too. And her first love is photography of the natural world and natural systems. Mm-hmm. And I like to follow her around and get tips how to photograph things. But whereas many times I'm happy just taking a picture and saying, well, that's pretty, that never satisfies Alice here. She wants every single thing about that plant or insect, and especially out in the wild. She's very self-taught and very curious, and has taught herself many of these things. She's also a Florida master naturalist. Mm-hmm. And she currently works for Citrus County Parks and Recreation as a recreation specialist, specializing in, of course, the natural world. Did I get most of that right?
You got most of it right. Yes, you did. Yes.
You go ahead. I just thought it was great to learn these botany basics, and of course she applies them to those plants out there in the wild, and that's great to learn about what's going on out there in the Florida wildlands. But sometimes it's good to listen to people with 50 doctorates and everything, but sometimes it's also good to listen to those of us who are more lay people, more self-taught, and can explain it to others.
Yeah, that is a good point, because there's a lot of people. I always say it's always good to start with the basics and learn the basics, but the most important thing is to also know where you can find more information about whatever you're studying and looking at. Like if it's a flower, you know where to go in order to find more information about the flower, what zone is they grow in, and where you can find them. So it's a lot of information to take in when you're just starting. So believe me, I love way too much in order for me to focus on one thing. So that's why we've got like very, very simple things just to learn. So.
Okay, so go ahead and get started. I'm going to let you take it away with your fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
On Florida's natural botany.
So you all can see the screen, correct?
I can. So yes, I'm assuming everyone else can.
Okay.
They can't, they'll let me know in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So this is just a little botany, and it's just keeping all those, to simplify everything. There is a huge amount of information. Even in this book, I have this book too, Botany for Dummies. I even have Botany in 8 lessons, and it's still kind of confusing, as what Lilly was mentioning before, is about it's just learning the basics and then going from there, but knowing that I can go back into here in this book to find exactly more information about, so that's what it is, or something like this. So
I'm on Amazon right now.
Okay, so the agenda, when we had the event, which again, I want to say thank you so much for everybody that participated in the event for the Florida Native Plant event up here in Crystal River. And it was just an amazing time. So appreciate everybody that contributed to that too as well. So the agenda for this botany little presentation is the photosynthesis, plant parts, mutualistic relationships, and then why plant native. So what defines a plant? Obviously, a plant is a living thing that grows in the earth, and it has a stem, leaves, and roots. And this is a beautiful
flower that you did use for this slide.
Yes, I love, yes, the rain lily. That's what we call it. So, and then it makes its own food, which is photosynthesis. It's a very, very complex system. For those that are beginning botany or to try to understand plants, it's like mind-blowing. It's trying to comprehend it is difficult at the beginning. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But here in this picture is a beautiful Garbaria plant that is soaking up the sun and getting all the nutrients that it needs. So photosynthesis is the plant uses the sunlight and carbon dioxide and water to make sugar. I would be a very, very happy plant if I created sugar. So yeah, I'll be like happy all the time. But that creates their own food. So the sunlight and the carbon dioxide and water. So they produce their own sugar. And then respiration is how the cells get their energy from the environment that helps keep their cells alive and grow. So that on this slide presentation is that whole process right there. And it gets complex and it gets more into detail, but trying to understand it and comprehend it is just, how does it do this? How does all this stuff work? Again, you can get more into the technical terms and terminology to understand that. I don't have enough brain space for all that technology. So then we go into the plant kingdom, which encompasses all living things that are not animals and included fungi and algae as well. This is another beautiful plant that we have native to Florida, which is the pine lily. And right now, I think they are in bloom. I know there's a couple spots in Chassahowiska Wildlife Management area that has these getting ready to bloom. So they are absolutely beautiful lilies. So then we're going to talk about the vascular plants, and vascular plants produce spores like ferns and horsetail. And if you ever get a chance to go or to look at a horsetail, it is absolutely amazing. And when I mentioned this before at the event, it has, if you remember when we were kids, we had those little plastic little punch things, little square things that you would pop in and out. That's what kind of like the horsetail is. They're a very, very old ancient fern as well. They produce, vascular plants produce seeds, flowering, wildflowers, and then non-flowering, which would be the pine trees. Non-vascular plants, which includes liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. So here we have your annuals, and I can perennials. I am stuck on that word. That's crazy.
That's all right. I can't say that RURAL word, so I'll say perennial for you.
Thank you. Alrighty. So a wildflower's life cycle is classified as annual perennial. Yes, thank you. So here's a beautiful bee on some dewberry right here. Pollinating is incredible. So here's the life cycle. Annuals complete their life cycle of germination from seed, growing, flowering, fruiting, and dying within a single season of growth. Biennials require 2 seasons to complete that life cycle. And when you're thinking about, let's go back, okay? When you're thinking about the botany and how the plant grows and all those details and adaptations that the plant has, whether it's a pine tree or whether it's these flowers, look at how different they are. Why do they have these different types of, like here where the hairy stems and the way that the flower parts are shaped, the petals are shaped. So it's not only understanding about botany, but also taking it to a different level is looking how different everything is. Why is it like that? Why do they have those shapes and those different little special things that they have to make them what they are?
And
I just had to.
Yeah, when you mentioned that on Saturday, I had been thinking about that, and I wanted to use it as a jump off point for something that I always talk about in the use of native plants in the landscape.
Mhm.
Now, this plant and all other plants have evolved as they are with their special adaptations of, shape of petal, hairy, not hairy,
Yeah.
because of the symbiotic relationship they have with the pollinators. They've evolved and the pollinators have evolved so that they can accomplish this very important pollination.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why it's important to have a lot of native plants in your yard, because they have stayed in step with evolution. Nothing terribly wrong with non-natives, but the more you hybridize something, the more we humans speed up that evolutionary process to where the insects may not recognize it as, something that it can get nutrients from. Something you're going to say, I have this and that that's non-native, and there are pollinators all over it. And, that's good as well. But the natives are always the best thing. And how I described it in one of my other classes was, think of native plants as your healthy nutrient meal that you want, nutrient filled meal that you might want to serve your children or your family. And the non-natives is more like dessert. So it's not necessarily,
Oh yeah.
but they are not getting everything they need out of those non-natives. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That is definitely good. That's a good way to look at it too, as well. So, herbaceous, these perennial plants live more than 2 years and are grouped into two categories. So you have herbaceous and then woody. So the herbaceous have the soft, non-woody stems like this blazing star. And then the woodies, and they'll generally die back each winter, and the new stems will grow from the plant each spring. And then you have the woody ones, which is the trees and the shrubs. So this picture right here is a Loblolly Bay, and it's part of the magnolia, obviously, because the flower does look like a magnolia tree. It's a beautiful, beautiful tree, grows out there in the wild. I'm not sure if you can pick it up as one of your landscape trees, as not to have in your landscape.
They're not as available anymore. They're getting harder to find. Bay trees in general have a invasive insect pest that is after them, I believe.
Oh, really?
This might be just called bay, but more in the magnolia family, but they are a little difficult to find. But I have seen one in the Jesuitska Wildlife.
Yeah, of course we have.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the flower, and know that all the wildflowers that we have, whether it's in our parks and whether it's in our natural resource area, the flowers are always giving nature color, because without the color and without the wildflowers, it would be pretty dull, just green and brown, basically. So this is a beautiful, I believe this is a swamp rose. That is just an amazing, amazing pollinating plant too. And this, I believe, is available. I've seen it at online. I think I've seen the seeds, something that might be online. Don't quote me on that though. But
in general, they bring color to the world, but they are also the plant's way. Life finds a way. Life, the purpose of every living cell basically is, it's programmed in to reproduce. So the flowers are the plant's way of advertising that, it's time to reproduce. So see, I said that much nicer than I told you.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That was awesome. Okay, your next slide. This is all the parts of the flower. the most common, when we do like a Google search of parts of flower, we usually get the same flower all the time.
Yeah,
And it's really not that way, because there are so many different flowers. There's so many plants and everything that their stigma or antler or filament is always different shaped. So this is a way to also get you to look differently at each flower. And you're like, oh, this is the way this is, or their petal looks different, their shape is different. See, with this pine lily, the beautiful dots are telling, you see right here, can you see my mouse? No, if not, but
Yeah.
if you do see the little red dots and everything, what is that telling you? That is kind of like what you were talking about before, Lily, is that these little dots are actually there to lead the pollinator down here to where the nectar is. So it's an amazing system that these flowers have. So when you're out there and when you're either looking in a nursery, a native plant nursery, or if you're out there hiking and doing a nature walk or wildflowering, take another look at all these different types of petals and the different shapes of the petals and the flower parts, because it's really, really amazing. So, and then pollination, this is exactly what happens for pollination. This is a bumblebee that is on a purple passion flower, and they are both doing what they need to do. So that is a perfect example of how pollination works. Got a lot of pollen on them.
yes, that is cool, all this.
Yeah, so he's going down there getting all the nectar from the purple passion flower, and then he'll fly off to another flower, and then it'll get pollinated, and that's a perfect example right there that I know. So.
Mhm.
And then seeds of plenty. They have seeds will travel, as many flowers have seeds. Others, like the pines, they have their pine cones. But I don't know how to put this. This is a sandhill milkweed. And if anybody have felt the seeds of a milkweed, that white fluffy is so white fluff, shall I say, in the seeds is just so soft, and it's like downy feathers, and it'll fly away. Just
I think it is actually
away.
called down. I think that's what they
Is
call
it?
it.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. And they'll fly and fly and fly. And if anybody has a chance to ever seen, it could take the difference between this sandhill milkweed and how their seeds are, and then take a look at a Florida milk vine. It's also called a spiny pod. They have this like alien shaped pod, but their white down fluff is really soft and coarse. And it's just the way that they were made. So, and then of course you have, birds. So seeds, wind, disturbance, and of course, poop. So here's a nice little pine warbler that likes to eat pine seeds, and he helps plants, he or she. And there's that cute. She's like, what's up?
Yeah, I'm just doing my job here.
Yeah. So all these contribute to how the seeds go where they need to go. And if they land in the great soil and soil conditions, then they'll be happy plants. So, and then here's the one about why insects need plants. Of course, it's species survival. Many insects, like this praying mantis, uses plants to hunker down, hide in plain sight, just to get those pollinators that are coming in, the bees and the ants and butterflies and skippers and stuff like this. So that whole rotation of circle of life right there in the botany world. So, and of course you have the mutualistic relationship. This is probably one of my favorite things to talk about, is how plants and insects both depend on each other. And that's a mutualistic relationship. They need each other.
We have time now. At the event we were at Saturday, you said you didn't have time to explain the relationship between the yucca moth and the yucca plant, and we have them here as also known as Adam's needle. And they bloom these jingle bell looking flowers in
Yes.
June, early summer. So explain to us that mutualistic, because you've told me the story before. So
it is super cool. And I had done a research on this, and this is all part about being in that whole world of just flowers and plants and everything, and how everything, it's that circle. So, and we have these in our parks, and we have these in your natural resource areas, and some people have it in their landscape. But this is the yucca plant. There's also Philomatosis. I think that's the scientific name for it. But if you see those white flowers, if you be mindful and lift up the petal, you might be able to see this moth. There she is right here. Oh, sorry. That's the yucca moth. She's pure white. She just hangs up there, and that's all they do. So what is so super cool about this is they need each other. They need each other in order for, well, the yucca plant needs the yucca moth in order to create seeds. That moth is the only insect that will be able to pollinate this yucca moth. And what the moth does is, can you see my mouse?
Let me move some things. Go ahead.
Can anybody see? Well, anyway, just
No.
okay. I'm sorry. I wish I had a pointer thing.
Line?
But if you look right underneath where the moths, underneath the mouth right here, underneath where her eyes are, but she has these two little, I just want to call them grabbers and everything. It's been a while. I probably needed to refresh this, but she'll have this, she'll roll up the pollen and make it into a little ball, and she'll hide it underneath her chin. She'll store it like right in here. Then she'll go into the ovary part of the plant of the yucca moth, and she'll drill a hole in there. She'll make a hole, and she'll deposit her eggs in there, and then she will take the pollen and pack it there. So her
Offspring.
her larvae will be able to eat the seeds. So they have to become seeds in order for them to feed. So, and then the larvae will come out and then drop to the ground, and then they'll be a cocoon, and then they'll do that whole process will start all over again. So it's a pretty cool system. So there you go. That's a perfect example of a mutualistic relationship between a plant species and an insect. So, and that's where you can learn about more of your plant. If you want to go in more detailed and learn more about that, that'll give you definitely some great educational material for botany right there, especially the plant parts.
Really makes you think twice before you pick up some kind of pesticide as well.
Yes, exactly. Because that's it, them too. And then you have your native plants. So native, naturalized, and invasive. This picture right here is a Florida rosemary. Just Florida rosemary, beautiful plant. It's kind of like loves the sandhill habitat, likes that sandy soil, and does not like anything growing underneath it. So very particular plant. So this is where we're going to get into the native. Native is where plants are from Florida, strictly Florida. And then endemic plants are only grow in Florida. Naturalized, which Lilly says is Florida friendly. These plants are not originally from Florida, but they are naturalized and they really don't affect Florida's ecosystems or their natural landscapes. So,
and for those who might be questioning this, because Alice emailed and asked me, or texted and asked me for, I need a naturalized flower. I'm like, well, give me some more context here, but I sent her this, just lost it, this blanket flower.
Blanket flower, yeah.
And so you may be saying, well, why are you calling that naturalized and not native? For those who may not be in the know, there are some native Gaillardia, but they are much smaller than the Gaillardia that we are accustomed to seeing. And to be determined to be native, they have decided pretty much they drew a date of when Ponce de Leon came here. Was it here? 15, whatever that was. And, so science is ever expanding, science, there's no absolutes in science. We're always learning. So they, however, they determined that this beautiful, big, flashy Gaillardia was not here when he came. It kind of found its way over from Texas. Still a fantastic, wonderful, beautiful plant. And since it got kicked off of the native plant team, I say it's been Plutoized. Where Pluto was kicked off the planet team, Gaillardia was kicked off the native plant team. I've been actually buying more of it because I feel so. And it's a beautiful plant. So,
but again, you say it's, even though it's naturalized, it's still a great pollinating plant.
Absolutely. Yes.
Then we'll go into like the invasive parts where, obviously the Kogan grass is
it grows straight up from hell. Yes.
It is just a grass that has no wildlife.
No checks and balances.
Yeah. So it's very invasive. It grows everywhere. It just, you can't really do much with it. So it does affect our ecosystem, especially when it's in the natural areas too. So
it's sneaking into my yard.
Yeah, there's a lot of it right out of here in the front of the building here too as well. But it's just, you do what you can, be mindful of what you plant, and then think ahead. So, all right, wildflowers in the wild bring colors to the forest. And here's another picture of a mini flowered, I think it's a Ulysses mini flowered beard tongue. But see all these different little hairs on this. Everything is pretty much hypothetically, unless you do the science and you just downright know. So I can't ask this plant like, hey, why do you have all those hairs? I can't. So it's a hypothetical answer is like, well, it's bringing water they're collecting moisture, or they're keeping the insects off. Who knows? So it's all that studies getting down to those, going really deep into scientific terminologies and exploration, and just slicing every single piece off and looking at under a compound microscope. It's the list goes on and on and on to really find the true answer of what it is. So, and then of course, wildflowers have their seasonals. They bloom every season. You have your fall blooms, like right now, we'll be seeing a lot of those. The picture on the left, I hope, is the horse mint. So these are absolutely gorgeous flowers, great pollinators. And then also the partridge pea plant right here, which is a host plant for the sulfurs butterflies. And then we have our marsh pinks and Florida pennyroyal during our winter time. And there's probably tons more that I haven't listed either. And then spring, of course, we all love spring. You have your rose rush and your, and then your purple passion flower. Awesome.
Two of the blue flowers of spring.
Yes. Yep. It's kind of weird that they say rose rush when it looks blue.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Also, how plants are named, it probably has a long history as well.
Yeah, that
Common
is,
particularly, and I've noticed that even botanically, they are even among native plants, they're giving them new names. It's not uncommon for a native plant to get a new botanical name because they
Oh,
learned something new about it,
yeah,
then they need to reclassify it.
yeah. This is your summer blooms, which I always call the flower, the pink flower on the left is the marshmallow. Don't ask me why, it came up that way. So it stuck to me. So it's a salt marshmallow, and then of course your Florida Boss sunflowers and there. It's just absolutely great flowers, beautiful. I believe the salt marsh you can get seeds for. And of course, the Florida's Fall Sunflower through the Wildflower organization.
Wildflowers.org.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they'll have seeds available, but you got to remember the salt marsh actually needs that wet habitat too. And then
It's its name, yes.
yes, exactly. And then the Florida Fall Sun, you need that sandy soils. So
All mallows need pretty much a swampy area. The hybridized hibiscus can get by without it, but your native mallows, they like wet feet.
yes, I'm still waiting to get that little wetland in my backyard. Still waiting, honey.
Yeah,
But anyway, this is actually our backyard, my husband and ours backyard, and we are incorporating natural elements into our garden. We have these two branches that fell down across in the lot next door to us, and we just dug a hole and we stuck it in there. They're great perches, excellent perches for squirrels, doves. We had a hawk up there. We've had tons of birds that would just perch up there, and they enjoy it. And we're adding more and cleaning up also. When you have a native garden, you have your seasons, everything, you need to pull some stuff out, and then you know that it's going to be growing back. So you'll have those seasons within your own backyard. And then we have our bird feeders to attract them as well. So.
And you live in pretty much a regular Central Florida development.
Mm-hmm.
It was by no means wooded or anything when you bought it. And I'm sure you probably just had all turf there, and you over time have built these beds and are going more natural.
Yes, yes. I'm the kind of person, my husband does all the landscaping because I'm like, if I have a bunch of seeds, I'll just throw them in there and just say, hey, grow. But obviously we can't do that. You have to take your time. So that's what my husband takes it.
Times that works.
Yeah. So I've not been successful on that. But anyway, yeah, he does. I have to commend my husband for doing such a great job keeping our little native landscape garden growing beautifully and very successful in pulling out some of the weeds that are not good weeds, but just the ones that are just like the grass stuff that goes in there. But
example, sometimes people get overwhelmed thinking I want to go native, and somehow in their mind that means I must have 100% native yard.
No.
Start it well as you can. And I've been running a campaign called 9 New Natives on everyone,
Oh, that's cool.
Here, or maybe I'll start it in earnest for 2023. Everyone get 9 new natives. The more natives, if all of us had a little, that is going to be beneficial for our wildlife. And then you can start, your beds can get a little wider and bigger over time and less turf. And, and I'm sure you don't put down pesticides and all that, in the yard. So just start small and, see what happens as the years go by.
And that has to do with our parks too. I mean, even though the parks in Hernando County and also in Citrus County is that there's so many things that can help with that. Like the birds for one thing and insects for another thing is that they help each other. So
Mhm.
the grubs and everything, the ibis will come in there and they'll get those
Right.
beautiful, delicious grub. But it's like, it's doing what you can, even if it's just a little bit at a time. I mean,
Right.
Lilly, you are not, hounding everybody to, like you said, do all natives or, stop pesticide. You have to just gradually get into that. And what your programs and also the programs here in Citrus County for the landscape is getting people educated,
Right.
helping people become educated, learning the basics, learning simple things to do to help not only wildlife, but also we're talking wildlife as in butterflies and bees and birds and that sorts. But it's just without those bees and butterflies and beetles, we're not going to have a beautiful landscape. We're not going to have flowers. We're not going to have trees. So it's just like one step at a time, just building that, even if it's in your own, if you're at a workspace, having plants around you is a good thing. There was a post on Facebook about that, that they did research about having, I have my husband's clippings right here of a fire bush, that having plants and being around those natural elements is healthy for you. So, and if you go out there and you look in your backyard or you're looking out your window in your office building and you see all these beautiful native plants, and it just, very helpful
Yeah.
and healthy.
Yes.
And I think that was my last, again, plant natives. So,
Okay. Yes. Well,
and
thank
then, adding your natural elements. This is another thing that I forgot to say is, like, if you have a tree stump, put that into your landscape too, because it's creating an urban landscape too as well, along with your flowers and trees and stuff like this. So it's awesome.
It is. And it's good for mental health. It's good for physical health. To spend as much time as we can out in nature. And if we can bring that nature to our own yard, so much the better.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you very, very much, Alice. And like she says here, look closer, take the time to look. That is actually why I like to use her as a photographer mentor, learn from her, because when I am taking photos, for those few seconds that you're really concentrating on whatever you're taking a photo of, you're in the now. You are just present in the now instead of thinking about what's going to happen in the next few minutes, or what happened yesterday, or who said what, or, and you don't have to be a photographer to accomplish that. You can just sit out in your yard with your coffee and just enjoy it. And a lot of these plants that she mentioned do only grow out in the wild. So sometimes, I'm not, Alice sometimes tries to kill me with hikes. So I'm not,
not purposely,
little bit of a hiker, but,
I'm going to leave it next time. So,
and only in the cold months, only in the cool months. But, just get out and walk a little, or even a lot of times when we go to the jazz together, we drive around and we stop when we see something exciting. So, just get out there and soak it in. It is both of our therapy time to get out.
And if you do that, you can also bring in ideas for your own landscape too, as well. So,
and how do you find some of these? Some of them they only grow where they're going to grow. They're just wild things that are only going to do their thing. But as she mentioned, wildflowers.org, you can find seed packets for various things. And what I always say is, it's not easy just to get up and go to the big box store and find native plants. That's not going to be how really this works, unfortunately. The best way is to familiarize yourself with people who love native plants. Go to workshops such as like Alice presented last week. I have so many YouTube videos on Hernando County government YouTube where you can find information. Each county has a native plant society. So look up Florida Native Plant Society and your chapter in your county. Make friends with those people. So therefore you can take day trips together to native plant nurseries. Stay within our zone 9A. You know, there's one in Groveland that's a big one. There's several all around. And then there's other local nurseries that have native sections, you know, but that's how you're gonna find these native plants that you want, is by doing the right networking. And then a lot of these people will share plants with you.
Yes.
And also have, you know, the good leads on where to find them. So that is really the best way. And read everything you can get your hands on for it as well.
There's a lot of information, a lot of resources. Like you're talking about the Florida Native Plant Society in your Florida landscape. Lots of resources out there, a lot of free educational resources to learn about botany. And just definitely just take your time and just start slow. Even if you just do a gardening, I mean, like a planter, just start off with a container full of native plants in your little container.
And the other thing you want to be careful for is, you know, there are native plants, black-eye Susans, for example, or milkweeds, and they may even have the exact same botanical name. But if you're ordering them online from Michigan, it's not the ecotype that grows here in Florida. See, there's all these little ins and outs, and then that's how you find out how to do it, is by watching these programs and making buddies with people who are, you know, into these native plants. That's what, you know, I do. I just suck up everybody else's knowledge. That's all I really do. And then I, you know, try to share it with others. So hence what I did today.
Yes.
By inviting Alice, and I thank you all for attending. Lee, you're in Broward. I always get between Broward and Brevard wrong, you know, so you can find, you know, your native plant societies down there and, you know, find out what those people are doing, and just, you know, just get out there. It's not easy, but it's not hard either. And next time you're out and walking around or anything, pay attention to those quote weeds, because a lot of them are great pollinating plants, and see what's going on with that.
Absolutely.
All right. And you're welcome, Lee. And thank you for joining us. She thanks both of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. And I'm going to turn off the recording in a second, but thank you all. And I hope this has been helpful for you.